Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show. My name's Denis Nurmela, and my co-host today is actually streaming in live from his studio out in, where are you from, Alan?
West by God, Virginia.
West by God, Virginia. That's great. Is that a small town or a big city?
It's not even on the map.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Well, we are flying manual today, which I just love to do every once in a while to keep my skills up. So all of our nice little intro music and all of our PSAs are gone, and the station manager's on vacation. He was on like some cruise in Alaska. So we're isn't that something? I mean, he's just.
How did you not get invited to that?
I'm telling you. Instead, we're having to be here, but we're having more fun, I think, than an Alaskan cruise, aren't we? So, Alan, we are so glad to have you on the air. I want to talk a little bit about you, and before we bring our guest on, I want to thank you for co-hosting with me this morning. You have your own radio show. So you have your own radio show too, don't you? You there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the sound cut off.
Oh, I say you have your own radio show too, don't you? And you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my background is electrical engineering. I've done that for years. Been involved in all kinds of different things over the years, flying and automotive and all that kind of stuff. But in the past few years, I've done a lot of public speaking. I've spoken internationally in Australia and Africa and around the country on a bunch of different technical subjects. Just recently was named IT director for a local university, so got a really cool gig going on there.
Congratulations.
And also host a radio show, internet radio show called Primetime Success Radio at Wednesdays on 8 p.m. Eastern. And Christopher was my guest on there about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Had a great time. Looking forward to talking with him again today. And also do a lot of things of helping people create products. I'm also known as the products coach. I've helped a lot of speakers develop audio products and some video products and whatnot that they sell in the back of the room, and show them how to do that very inexpensively, but have a lot of profit built into that as well. So into a whole lot of things. If it's technical oriented or geeky type things, I'm into that one way or the other. So really enjoyed that. And I appreciate joining you guys today this morning to co-host this. Looking forward to this.
Oh, this is going to be fun, definitely. So tell us how the folks can watch your show, or what your website is. Give out anything you want, phone numbers, credit card numbers, anything you want to do.
The credit card number is, let me give you that right here.
Yeah, okay, good. We'll put it up on the screen for you too.
I've got the Hemp Hills credit card number as well, so we can use that.
Oh, good.
My radio show is called Primetime Success Radio. You can find it at primetimesuccessradio.com. And we'll show all the upcoming shows and all the previous shows. You can also find me on iTunes. Just type in Alan Skidmore on Google. You can find all the other different things there as far as the speaking and the radio show, the products, things, and all like that. But primetimesuccessradio.com is the main way to get a hold of me and connect with me there. And I look forward to every week at Wednesday evening, you guys join me. And we have all kinds of different guests from all over the place. We've got actors, actresses. We've got entrepreneurs. Larry Broughton's been on my show before. Christopher has, Brian Kelly, and just got a whole lineup of people, of entrepreneurs, speakers, business people, and regular folks. And we just talk about some of the stuff that they've come through, and just really get some positive feedback on the show. I've been told that it's like sitting across the kitchen table for the radio show, and I really like that, because I just want people to feel like they're eavesdropping in on our conversations and learn something at the same time. So I really have a blast doing that, and urge you to check us out on Wednesday evenings.
Very good. Well, before we introduce our guest today, I want to just do a couple of quick announcements. If you're listening to us on the radio and would like to watch us, I don't know why you would want to do that, but if you did, excuse me, I forgot to bring my voice today. We are on channel 40 of Verizon Fios in Riverside County. Also in Riverside County, California, we are on Time Warner Cable, channels 0 and 126, and we are streaming live on YouTube right now on smradio.org/YouTube, so you can see us in any of those places. Hello to our friends out in Europe and Africa that are listening to us on satellite radio. Also, a quick plug for our my new television show with Sandra D. Robinson airs on those same channels on FiOS and Time Warner Cable from 9:30 to 10:30 every Saturday morning. I'll show all about success. And next week's show, I'm just going to make a quick announcement on that too before we introduce our guest. We will have, you mentioned Larry Broughton. He's actually going to be my co-host next week. And our guest is a very unique individual. If you watched X Factor last year, you saw a guy come out in an extra wide wheelchair. His name was Freddie Combs, came out and sung like an angel. He weighed about, I think, about 400 pounds. He had already lost 400 or 500 pounds and is a minister. He'll be on the show this next week, and he's going to talk to us about how to achieve goals and how he used his time on X Factor to help quote-unquote marketing with his ministry. So we're looking forward to that this next week. So now the big announcement is our guest this week, Christopher Rausch. And my cough is back. Anyway, Christopher is a good friend of mine. He is the founder of the KICKASS program to help you get your life into gear and quit goofing around. That's probably a good way to say it. He's got a master's degree in organizational management, which you would never be able to tell just from seeing him out on the street. He likes to blend in and make you feel very, very comfortable. So we're going to bring you on the air and let you make any corrections to my introduction I gave you. So welcome, Chris. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Dennis. Hey, Alan. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing great, Chris. Good to see you again. You looking good?
Thanks, man. Good to see you too, brother.
So tell us how you, what has brought you to become the kick-ass guy of the universe? What's some of your background?
That's really cool. I love that introduction, Dennis. Actually, the way I became, I'm the creator of the Kick-Ass Guide to Life, Kick-Ass Motivation for Kick-Ass People. I'm one part Tony Robbins, one part George Carlin, all mixed up in an AC/DC concert. So if you like straight ahead motivation, I'm your guy. I was the suit and tie guy, getting dressed up in the blue suit with the red tie, going to these events with shiny shoes, saying the same thing everybody else was saying. But life is about being authentic, and I decided after I joined an awesome mastermind that my message is just to be who I am, which is bandana, tie, just rocking it and just being authentic. And I'm not for everybody, but for the people I am for, I'm for you.
Awesome. Well, I just figured out I had the wrong mic on for you, but we heard you actually okay. So yeah, we can hear you much better now, though. Now we got the kick-ass mic on.
The kick-ass mic. Hey, life's about technical difficulties, and you roll with them when you're a kick-ass person.
That's right. And that's why we had problems planned today, so that we can do that today.
Well, you planned those out. That's even better.
You like that? Yeah, that's what I'm telling everybody.
Bring it. We can do it.
So tell us that you had, and I don't want to get all of our listeners in tears here, but you had a rough childhood, and you got through that. So you want to tell us a little bit about that process of making those mental changes in your life?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for the question, Dennis. Yeah, my life, and I used to actually never tell this story because I don't think that your past necessarily defines who you are now, but part of my story was I grew up in Inglewood, California for about the first 5-6 years of my life, and predominantly white when I moved in when I was born, and then predominantly black when we had to get out. And so I learned
the neighborhood was, or you were?
The neighborhood was, yeah. And I learned at a very early age about reverse discrimination because my mom had to get me out of there because I didn't fit in and people were picking on me, and I was just still a young kid. And so we moved to the middle class suburbs of Anaheim, California, and I thought my life would be normal. I never knew who my dad was. I call him a sperm donor because I think you earn the title of being a dad. So I thought that, now I'm 6 years old, I'm living in Anaheim, I'm going to elementary school, that my life would be better. But long story short, because there's a lot of different stories in between, on May 10th, 1982, I came home from school and found us moving out of our house. And I didn't necessarily understand what was going on, but my mom had tried to save a sick cat of hers, her favorite cat, and unfortunately we lost the place we were living in. She didn't pay the rent. So as a result, we went from there living in a station wagon with 14 cats and 2 dogs And for the next 4 years, my life was complete hell. And we can talk about those stories if you want. But where I'm at today, like Dennis said, I have a master's degree. I went back to school. I changed my mindset. I did not come at life from a victim mentality. I came at it from a victor mentality. And I think your previous guest, Ricky Powell, was talking about that also. And so now I just live a kick-ass life, and I just love sharing with other people, because that's what life is about. Life is about not sitting in what you were born into, but what you create.
So what are the things that you enjoy doing the most right now? I know you have a book written, or you're in the middle of one, and you do some speaking, or what is it that you really get the biggest thrill out of in everything that you do right now?
Honestly, the biggest thrill I get, and this is no BS, is speaking and helping people. My tagline is, I help people overcome their self-created adversity without the self-help fluffy BS. I love talking to people one-on-one, not using any NLP or any other formal education, just using what I bring to the table in 20 years of personal development, and seeing them go, wow, I'm the one causing all of this. I'm the one that can change it. And whether it's speaking, consulting, doing workshops, I have a live event coming up. The book is nearly written. It's a 2-volume set. So I have a lot of different things. I've got a home study course going on. I've got a lot of different things. I've gotten back into personal coaching, just that, and music. I love helping people, and I love music.
What is some of your favorite music?
My favorite music is, it stems from new age to classical to hard rock, heavy metal, classic rock. If I had to define a particular genre, I'm more of a 80s heavy metal guy, as you can kind of tell. Love the Motley Crue, AC/DC, Bon Jovi. But honestly, my favorite song is Drift Away by Dobie Gray. Give me the Beat Boys to free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. And as a matter of fact, I love the song so much, I actually tattooed it. I don't know if you can see it.
There, our radio folks.
Tattoo. That's a very cool tattoo, and it's really neat.
It's actually the musical notes for the chorus of Driftaway, because any time in my life, I've always turned to music to get myself through it. And when you think about it, give me the Beat Boys to soothe my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. I love music. Love music.
You and I talked about that on the phone when we were doing our prep stuff, or we chatted, I can't remember. But we communicate in so many ways these days. But about how music can help to you can use music not only to match the mood that you're in, but to change the mood that you're in.
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how music influences your life, and how do you use it in a positive way? Our listeners, you that are driving or watching us on TV right now, you've had that opportunity, I'm sure, to feel blue sometimes, and you want to get out of it, and music is one of those ways. So why don't you tell us how you use music?
Sure, absolutely, Dennis. I love that question. Music, from an early on a point in my life, my mom always played records. I grew up listening to music, not watching television necessarily, but listening to Judy Collins, Joan Baez, Gordon Lightfoot, Simon and Garfunkel. And from an early time, one of the best things I ever got was my own record player. And like my first album was AC/DC Back in Black. And I would, whenever my mom was abusing me or she was getting abused by somebody, I would go into my room, lock the room, and the only thing I had was my music. And so the only thing I could drown out the sound of her getting beat or me crying was to throw on AC/DC or Kiss or something like that. But also in the same respect, there was a Rod Stewart song that said, "Give me wings, I'll fly," or "Give me wings." It's on an album that isn't even on CD yet. "Give me wings, I'll fly away." And I used to play that song over and over and over and over again, just like, get me out of here.
Right.
And music today, when I do speaking, I have a particular speaking list that I listen to that gets me pumped up and amped up. I listen to Bon Jovi, "It's My Life." You just listen to songs that resonate with you, that say, okay, why am I being miserable, and what am I doing to change it?
And that's something you brought from childhood. And some people like myself, I actually did not use music very much in my life until probably just a couple of years ago, and I've started to use it now, and I've noticed a change in my ability to get into gear, I guess you could say, in the mornings.
Yep.
So a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah, that can make a big difference. Penny and I, my wife and I, just this past week, we attended a Bryan Adams concert. He came to town.
Nice.
And it was kind of interesting because it was the Bare Bones tour. It was just him and acoustic guitar, and he was kind of a rocker in the day. And he had a guy that played the piano somewhat, but it was amazing. The energy level wasn't quite what I think he was hoping for, but still, even with just that, he had a crowd of about 2,000 people on their feet, up dancing around and everything else. And and I was amazed at how many songs that I actually remembered of his that I didn't realize he'd had so many songs. But music can play a big part. I mean, it can pump you up or take you down, and especially if you need pumped up, you get the right music that resonates with you. Christopher's right, man. That stuff just can get to you.
Oh yeah. You can't even listen to like Motley Crue Kickstart My Heart. If anybody tries to listen to that and doesn't get amped up, and I'll use a perfect exercise in this. I've had people that have been completely miserable. And if the listeners out there remember a band called Hanson, they were kind of a joke, but they were a boy band. They were a little boy band, but they had a song called Mbop. And it's like, I tell people that you try to be miserable and sing that song, you cannot do it. And I swear 100% of the time I get people smiling because they're like, bop, diddy bop, ba doo bop, diddy bop, ba doo bop, diddy bop, ba doo. So, I mean, you guys are already laughing. See, you cannot be miserable to Hanson.
You listened to that song quite a bit already.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked every single time. So music definitely plays a part. So if you're miserable, put some good music on, get your body going. And singing is another thing. When you sing, endorphins are released. No matter what you're doing, like when I'm mad, I just get in the car and I listen and I sing my heart out and I feel better every time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I've got to point something out for our radio viewers that you can't see is that Chris is wearing a bandana and he's got a tie that's loosened a little bit, so he looks professional, but he also looks. I guess I would use the word kick-ass because that's the look you're looking for.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about branding, because this is something you mentioned at the beginning. You've had to make this big change. So how does it help, and what do you think is the importance of branding for a business?
That is a great question, Dennis. Branding comes from being your product. People can sell widgets and sell air conditioners and sell all those things, but when you go home at night, you don't go, woohoo, I sold an air conditioner. When you think about what you're selling, you want to sell yourself. And like I said, as a suit and tie speaker, I was selling myself as a speaker, but I did not resonate 100%. I did it very, very, very well. But when you come from a point of being truly authentic, not worrying about the money, not worrying about what people say about you, the opinions, when you truly have fun being who you are, it comes through and the product sales come through. So when you think about branding, you got to think about differentiating yourself from other people. I have never seen another speaker like me entirely. I've never seen another speaker who will go out on a limb to say they use profanity in their presentations to get people. I mean, Tony Robbins swears all the time. People don't know it, but I am a kick-ass guy and I love doing it. I don't get up in the morning and go, wow, I got to put a suit and tie on. I get up and I go, okay, I'm part business. I'm, what is it? I'm party downstairs, business on top. I'm just a party altogether, but my passion comes through because I love what I do. So branding is vitally important, because when you wake up in the morning and go, I believe in this product. I believe in this bottle of water. This bottle of water is the best thing ever. I love it. It's going to come through in your sales and with your customers.
I agree.
There's something too to say about being genuine, and I'll have to say I was running a company one time, and they send you, when you're CEO of a company, you get all these magazines and catalogs to order from, and they all want you to spend your money. But this one, I looked at it was a thin little office supply catalog, and I just flipped it over and laid it on my desk, and I looked and I noticed they had the whole crew. The entire staff of the company were out in front for like a group photo, and every single one of them was bald. And I thought, well, that's weird. So I read
the women?
Even the women, yes.
Wow.
The men and the women were bald, and there was a little bit of text underneath it. So this is my point is this is about being genuine and being real. So I read the little thing underneath it, and apparently one of their employees had got cancer and lost all her hair. So the entire, I'm going to get choked up on this, but the entire company shaved their heads to make her feel comfortable at work. And
wow.
I started buying from that company because I saw a genuine feeling of family within that company. and being genuine, I think, has some real power when it comes to. I mean, they weren't doing it to sell products, but I bought products because of that.
And you know
That's
what?
really cool.
You bring up a great point, Dennis, because at the end of the day, I went through a period where my mom was really sick, and I got to talk to a lot of elderly people who were in convalescent hospitals or in hospitals. And at the end of the day, when we're getting ready to go, you're not going to look back at your life and say, wow, I'm glad I got up every day and I went to a job I hated to support my family, to be miserable around them. You know, I think about life this way. If I went out tomorrow, I know that from the videos I've done and the podcast, all the radio show, everything, my message and my legacy will be there. And I will go out being a kick-ass person because of making that decision. So I encourage you guys out there to really just think about what you're doing. And there's two questions you ask yourself every morning. Are you excited about where you're going and what you're going to be doing? And when you're there, are you excited about where you're going home and who you're going to be with? If you can answer yes to those two questions, without a doubt, you're living a kick-ass life. But in either one of those situations, if you're not, you need to make different decisions, different choices and different decisions. And sometimes that hurts people's feelings and it causes disruption. But at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself and live your brand.
Very, very good. And I think doing things that are a little outside the box or kick-ass or whatever you want to call it for your business is going to help you get to places that you haven't been before. You know, I don't remember how many people have used this quote or one that's very similar to it, is that, you know, to get to places that you've never been before, you have to do things that you've never done before. So it is important to do that. So one of those things that I think both Alan, our co-host, and Chris, our guest today, can both probably pitch in some information on is, if you're running, it doesn't matter if you're running a pizza shop or a some big warehouse. If you want to get word out to your customers or your vendors or the public, using some kind of media is important, whether it be video or doing the radio show. I'm in a very unique situation that I've got a college that I've partnered with. A lot of colleges don't have this all set up. So you both have your own radio shows. Why don't let's see, Alan, you want to go first maybe, and then we'll ask Chris too. If you're talking face to face, I want, you know, our listeners are watching. Our listeners are watching. Yeah, and our viewers are listening.
Yep.
There will be a test afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're sitting at a table across from them, eye to eye, what advice would you give them to getting involved in media, and how is that going to help their business? So, Alan, you want to start us off?
I'll tell you from my perspective, I've been doing the radio show for about 7 months now. I've got roughly 30 shows behind me. It's a weekly show. I think Chris is probably very, very similar numbers there. But what I've discovered is I did this for two reasons initially. One was I just wanted to do radio. I've always enjoyed radio and wanted to do this and thought this would be fun, and it has been. The other thing is that as a speaker, I want to get my name out there, and this helps improve my speaking ability, being able to think on my feet. And when technical glitches come up, as I'm sure you run into before, that, you know, you deal with it and you move on and you make things happen anyway. But the other is just the notoriety that's come from it. Our friend Carol McManus told me before I started the show, she told me that that the one thing that I would get out of this most of all is the notoriety of people that will know who I am and connect with me, even if I don't know them. And what's really cool about that is that locally here in Charleston, West Virginia, where I live, is that my name has gotten out there, and people have come up to me and said, you know, what's the deal with this with you in a radio show? You know, that's not where you normally come from in a background and stuff. And they thought this is really cool. But every single person I've talked to and mentioned that I have a radio show, I always get that, oh, wow, that's cool. And that seems to impress them more than any other thing that I've done. And I just really, really like it. I think it's kind of cool. So I don't know if Christopher's had the same dealings or not, but if you want to get your name out there, media will definitely do it quickly.
Chris, what's your comments on it?
Absolutely. I agree with you, Alan. And we've had conversations about this before. One of the things, you know, with music being my passion and motivation being my passion, somebody asked me once, Chris, what would be your ideal job? And I said, my ideal job would be to sit down, spin tunes, and be able to talk to people about life and what music means to them, you know, basically be a radio disc jockey. And it wasn't until earlier this year that I put two and two together and said, Chris, you know, KLOS isn't going to come knocking on your door unless you have experience. But you can actually start your radio program right now. And I've been talking about doing podcasting, getting my message out there. We're talking about getting social media out there. But I made it out to be bigger than it was. And so on a Sunday, I signed up for Blog Talk Radio. My radio show is the KICKASS Radio Show. You can find it at the KICKASSRadioshow.com. And I started it in a half an hour. I had a microphone, I set it up, and I said, okay, we're going to go. And like Alan was saying, when you have that, it does build up your credibility, because then people say, oh, you have a radio show. Oh, how do I get on it? And at first I was, trying to find people to be on it. And honestly, I've done, I think 22 shows, and I have people coming to me now, emails every day saying, Chris, I want to be on your show. I love the format. Yes. I love that it's open and I can be who I am. I had a guy named JB Glossinger on the show. He's the founder of morningcoach.com. I've been listening to his podcast for years, and he said, I'd love to be on your show. And he said, on your show, that was the first time I could tell my story the way it actually happened without having to cover stuff up. And he was authentic.
Wow.
So for the business owners out there, you are the expert in your area. You have to be the expert in your area. And if you're not doing podcasting or having a radio show, or at least writing a blog, using social media, you're not doing yourself justice. Get a radio show, get a podcast, have guests on there, because then guests are going to tell their listeners to follow you. I have a guest on my show. They're going to tweet out to all their listeners, hey, I'm on the KICKASS Radio Show. And it's building my brand. And people are saying, like Alan was saying, wow, who's Christopher Rausch? What's this KICKASS thing all about? And honestly, I've been in this brand for about a year, and nobody could say the word KICKASS without thinking of me. And that's what you want. You want people saying, okay, what do I think of, have a Coke and a smile,
Right.
People hear that.
That's very good. And in fact, I follow the same thing with Saturday Morning CEO. I want Saturday morning cartoons to change over to Saturday Morning CEO, Saturday Morning Radio Show, Saturday Morning Success Talk Show. I want to be Saturday morning.
Yep.
When most people are sleeping, I'm getting up, driving in, doing a radio show. So that branding is very, very important. One other thing I want to bring up about radio, and of course I do the cable TV show too, is that it's also great for networking. If there's somebody that you want to get to know, like I already knew our mayor in my city and stuff. My wife and I just recently moved there about 25 years ago, so I know a lot of the folks there. But to have the mayor come on the radio show, or some neighboring cities, I've had some city council members. I've had some big business people. We've had Nathan Osmond on a couple times to talk about the music business. He's the introducer at his last show was and I hate when I draw a blank right on the radio show, but who's the announcer? Oh man, boy! Now I'm gonna have to have him on my show someday too, so he can pick on me now.
Mickey Mouse,
Jewish guy that talk show not late night.
Maury Povich?
No. Anyway,
welcome to getting old.
I'll tell you, it is really coming around. I'll think of it later when we're on some other topic. Larry King.
Oh yeah.
Larry King introduced him at his last show, and he did a big thing for veterans. So he's been out there and doing a lot of big shows, and he's been able to be on my show several times. So it's a good way to get to know people. Say, hey, you want to come on my radio show? So whatever business you're doing, if you want to get to know other people that are big in that business or that have a lot of influence over customers, you can have them on the air, and then their friends that they're connected with, especially if you use social media, which I do. If some of you are followers already on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or LinkedIn, then you've seen the promos for this show, and I've tried to make them a little creative. So we've had some kind of cool stuff, and Christopher this week has shared those with his friends, and every guest that I have on, they share it. So it gets that brand name out there of the Saturday Morning Radio Show. So whatever your brand is, media like this is a kick-ass way of growing your business. So that's I think it's something that you need to consider doing. What about other? You've got a book that's coming out, you said, right? You're working on a series of...
Yes. Actually, people can go to my website, ChristopherRausch.com, and if you opt in, you get a free download. It's 160 tips for creating your unstoppable attitude for personal and professional success. those tips are actually bullet point tips. And coming out here in September, the book is going to be expounding upon those tips for how to live a kick-ass life. And I think of it like this. I always think about things like conversations like you and me right now. We're not together, but we're together. And if I was at a bar and you said, hey, Chris, what does it take to have a kick-ass life? I would say, okay, give us 2 beers, 2 coffees, whatever it is. And I would sit there and say, okay, here's what you do. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. So the book is about that. It's like life's little instruction book, but it's the kick-ass version. So it's part entertainment. It's straight ahead. It's not for children under 18 unless you teach them about those kind of words. It's not heavy with that, but it's the message is there. It's just when you have that passion, people come back from a Tony Robbins experience and they say, wow, I didn't realize how much he was just out there and just so expressive. But it changes a person's state if they're not used to it. And obviously all of us think it. We may say fiddlesticks or fire truck or friggin', but ultimately the real word is inside of us and we're just trying to get it out. So that's what that book is about. And I've got another book about me and my mom that's going to be coming out, which is a heartfelt story about her situation and my situation. So yeah, there's a lot coming.
Oh, that's great. And what's Alan, what have you found with yourself and some of your guests on your show too, the importance of having a book? I mean, if you own a sandwich shop or a pizza shop or something, will it help for you to have some kind of book?
Oh, I agree with that, to have a book. It's as our friend Craig Duswald, he talks about having a book versus having a business card. And I really like that idea. And it's really not that hard to write a book. And Chris, unfortunately, I have not done that yet. I've got several started. I just need to finish them.
Finish it, Alan.
The thing is it's like the radio show. You get a lot of notoriety out of it, and you're perceived as an expert and a celebrity and all that stuff. But if you go to some sort of networking event or something and you have a book that you can either pass out or give out or say, hey, I've written a book, that puts you up there a little bit as far as, that you've done some stuff that most people have not done. I had a couple friends of mine release books in the past couple weeks. And I just think that's really, really cool. One lady I grew up with, she's out there in LA now and lives out there, and she just released her first book. And so I'm real happy for her for that. And she's done very well. But you're right. The book, anything that you can do to put yourself out there with any kind of media, whether it's the YouTube or the social media stuff, radio, and a book especially, books really, really resonate with pretty much everyone, regardless of the social media stuff. But the book will resonate with everybody as far as having a status symbol tied to that.
Yeah, I have found also that having my book out there, the Saturday Morning CEO, and actually the subtitle of the book too, to explain what it is how 2 hours a week will guarantee your success in business and in life, in any economy. And I think that not only has it done a lot for notoriety, but a lot of the ideas that I have felt passionate about in business are in there. So I don't have to retell that story all the time either to people. Yes. There's some real weight in that. I do a lot of business consulting, and when I talk to one of my clients, I let them know, hey, in my book, you got to read chapter whatever because it talks more in depth about this particular thing. Now maybe I'm losing out on money because I could take an hour and explain to them what's in that chapter and charge them for it. But a book does help to get the information out there. So if you own a pizza shop and you've got the best recipe for pizza and you want to give some folks an idea of how to choose the right pizza place to go to, or how to cook something at home, or share your expertise, then when they come into your pizza shop and you've got your book in there, you are now the pro. Much more than just owning the shop. You're an expert, and that helps you to get your word out there.
And you also mentioned there that kind of brings up is that by having the book and we're not having to explain that same story over again, is that way you're marketing one to many, which is like Christopher does, is when you're in front of a group telling your story and you do coaching and everything, it's a whole lot easier to tell that story one time in front of a group of 100 or 200 people, and especially if you can sell your book, because your book may get in the hands of people that you never actually meet, but yet you can still change their lives. And so you've got a multiple facet there of marketing to more people all at the same time, which can help improve your business but to get your name out there even better to people that you never even come in contact with, but they know who you are.
And you guys bring up really super valid points, but I think for the listeners out there, they may be thinking, "Oh my God, writing a book? Are you crazy? I mean, I don't know how to get an agent. I don't know how to do all these different things. I don't know how to do a radio show. What would I do? What if I fail?" Honestly, guys, you just have to do it. You cannot be the biggest criticizer of yourself. Writing a book these days, you can write an ebook. You can write a 96-page book that is very simple to write. You can self-publish it. You can create an ebook. You can sell it on Amazon. But the key is quit waiting. Quit thinking about it. I'll do it when the kids graduate. I'll do it later on. It's not perfect. Do it. Send it out as a freebie and have people critique it and say, "Oh, well, I'd like to see this. I'd like to see that," before you actually put it into print. But the point about life is every day goes by and you lose that day. That's the most precious commodity we have in this world is time. And if I think about the time that I spent, and I don't waste time, but I think about if I would have been on this journey 10 years ago, my life would be exponentially bigger and better. But in the last year, my success and my happiness, my internal happiness is exploded. And I'm meeting so many great people just by surrounding myself by great people. So do not limit yourself by thinking something is so big. Just start and say, I'm going to write 1 page a night, and then just keep going. It's that 1% rule, and just keep going and break that down. And soon you'll have it and you'll be able to share it, and your success and your happiness will increase.
I love that. And I'm going to actually give you guys a quick little break here instead of public service announcements, since we're running the show manually today. I'll let you guys get a sip of water or whatever you want right now. And I'm going to go through and just give a little bit of an update of some of the guests that we've got coming up over the next month or so. You mentioned Freddie Combs that'll be on next Saturday. I've got a local business person that will be on Saturday the 31st to be announced. On September the 7th, I've got Nicole Kellner, she's a college student. She's 20 years old. She's going to school up in Pittsburgh, I think University of Pittsburgh, if I'm correct. And she decided to start a company on her own that is now a $1 million idea. She's making purses that you can put your cell phone in it, and it's waterproof and it's easy to get to, and it's a handy little thing. So she started her little design company, and it has grown exponentially, and she's still going to school. So she'll be on September the 7th. September 14th, we have Antarctic Mike, who will be here. And Mike has run several marathons in Antarctica. He's from Southern California here, so he trains in big freezers. I'm sure that was probably a process, trying to find out where he can go running inside of freezers to get himself ready for that. On the 21st of September, I have Sonia Perez, who is a local business owner, CEO of Eating Off the Vine. She has a health-related business, and she's connected a lot of local farmers and other folks that are involved in options for us to eat more healthy. On Saturday, September 28th, that's going to be a fun show. I've got Jennifer, is my yoga instructor, is actually going to be here. So I'm hoping that she doesn't tell any secrets of what class is like on the receiving end as the instructor, with me in there trying to make all kinds of noises getting into these positions that everybody can get into. So those are some of the upcoming guests, and I'm going to return us back to the show here with no intro music or exit music, since we're playing it manual today. But Christopher, you're into music, so can you hum us a tune as we start back up?
Yeah.
There we go.
Give me the beat, boys, to free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
I love it. YouTube's going to catch me on a copyright thing just because you sang that. But that's the way that it works now. So, Alan, do you have anything to ask Chris about his kick-ass life?
Well, I do. I want to mention something. It's intriguing. You talk about you've got a guest, Antarctic Mike. I think that's really cool. About a year ago, as I was flying out to California, I got on a plane here in Charleston, and the lady sitting next to me was a United flight attendant from Oregon, and she had just come to West Virginia to run a marathon last fall, and she told me that she had run a marathon in all 50 states and
Wow.
in several other countries, including Antarctica. And I'm like, I didn't even know you could run a marathon in Antarctica. But apparently, that is, I guess, it's a bigger deal than I thought. I've been trying to get in touch with her again to have on my show to talk about that because she's got kind of a rough story to begin with, and she changed her mindset, and now she's done all this stuff, which is which is really really cool. Well, now, Christopher, I want to ask you. You were on my show here a while back, and we had a great conversation. I got so much positive feedback about you being on my show that just the story, and people said we want to hear more from you about your story. And tell a little bit more about your mom and the cats. And I know you changed your mindset, but what was the one thing that really triggered that for you?
Great question. I had an awesome time on your show, Alan. You are born for radio, and I wouldn't be surprised if West
I've got
Virginia
the face
says.
for
I wouldn't be surprised if the local station says we got to have Alan Skidmore on 8 hours a day talking about life and
Oh,
business. But yeah, that actually I received a lot of feedback from the show too. So thank you about my mom and about that situation. It at first it started off as an adventure. I was 13 years old. I'm a seventh grade dropout. I'm living in a car with these cats, and I'm thinking of it like, oh, okay, this will happen for a week or so. And progressively, my excitement about it being a different thing going on really got dire when I couldn't call my friends, and I went from being a middle class kid, going to Brookhurst Junior High, um, to being nowhere, to having to deal with these cats, and then with the food situation, the hierarchy was cat food, dog food, mom's cigarettes, and then people food.
Wow.
And I tell people still to this day, I look at a box of crackers, and this is no BS. I look at a box of crackers and think dinner, because
oh,
a sleeve of crackers with water can fill you up.
Wow.
yes.
And I think about the hatred I started having towards her because we lived in and out of motels. I had a gun put to my head. I was almost carjacked. Drugs and alcohol and those things. So it sucked. I'll just be point blank.
Yeah.
It sucked. And what changed for me is I had to decide who was more important. At 17 years old, my life got to a fork in the road, and everybody has these, and you continue to have them, where if I keep doing this, I'm going to wind up like that. If I do this and make a tough choice, then I'm going to end up better. So I had an opportunity. I was doing telemarketing out of a guy's apartment, which sounds creepy, but it's not. It was a roofing business, and he was going to move to Texas, so I was going to be out of a job, and he knew about my situation. So he offered his apartment to me and my friend, who also lived in the motel, and said, "Okay, I'll leave my deposit for you, and you guys can get out of there." And you think that with a parent, keeping your kid in there for 4 years, in and out of cars, motels and stuff. I went back and I said, "Hey, I can get out of here. Me and Robert can get a place." And she was mad, and "Oh, you can't leave me here, and you're a bleep 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 bleep." And I sat down on the stairs of the motel, and I just looked around, and I thought, if I don't leave here, and I already tried committing suicide twice, if I don't leave here, if I don't put me in front of her, then my life is going to be crap. And so I said, "Mom, I got to go." And I tell people I left the motel, but I never left her, because I would go back every night. My ex, who I'm still really good friends with, can attest to this. I went back every night and helped her take care of the cats, because she still had all the cats in the motel room. So I made that decision, and had I not made that very important decision and chose me over her, my life would not be where it is today. So, and I tell people, it hurt her. I mean, she tried to have me arrested for stealing my own car. There's so many
Wow.
stories, but at the end of the day, you have to choose you. And if your family and your friends, you think those should be your most supportive people, and sometimes they're not, it's okay to say, "Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for the memories. I have a sister that I don't even talk to anymore. A half sister I don't talk to anymore because of her bitterness about her past." So it's really about, making those choices. And to sum up that story, like I said before, as I was driving here, I was driving on a road, Gilman Springs Road, and I have not been on that road since I was taking my mom to the hospital every day. She had a huge amount of medical problems, and I was there every day taking care of her animals, still driving to her trailer here in Hemet, doing 200 miles a day, taking care of her, taking her to the hospital, taking care of her at convalescent hospitals. And I'm happy to say I was there when she passed away. I held her hand and I caressed her forehead, and I told her it was okay, that I had everything. And to this day, I still have her dog, and I cherish her memory. But yeah, that's more about my mom.
I appreciate that. That's I watched a I don't know, PBS special or something on. I believe his name is Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer, and great show to watch if you get a chance to watch it. He talks about his story. He came here, he crossed the border illegally, and eventually was able to get himself to where he is today. But he talked about living under a bridge. He brought the reporter over to the place where he used to go sleep, and he was talked about how grateful he was for 7-Eleven, because he could get 2 hot dogs for $1, and that was lunch and dinner.
Yep.
So I mean, it really the story you're telling right now, and probably a lot of our listeners and viewers, have been through some things that really pull on our heartstrings. But pulling people's heartstrings don't get you anywhere. Making a change from that does. So tell us, what did you have to do mentally to get to that point where you were sitting there on the stairs saying, I gotta make this happen? And this is a 2-part question. And then what happens when your brain keeps going back there every once in a while? Because you grow up with that. You got to continually keep yourself moving in a forward direction. What tricks do you use to help you?
What I do, because I do get negative. People sit there and say, okay, Mr. Motivator, you're always positive, you're always happy, you're always upbeat. I have very, very cynical days. I have very, very down days where I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? What's this all for? I should just go home and drink beer and watch football, which is nothing wrong with that. But at that point, sitting on the stairs, I realized, I just looked around and I said, okay, these people are doing the same thing and this is a great quote. I want you guys to hear this. If you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. Yeah, that is on my bathroom mirror. If you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. And I said, okay, I have to go. And as soon as I got around different people, you're like the 5 people you're around the most. As soon as I got around different people, my attitude completely shifted. I met a great girl who I'm still friends with today. I got married to her. Her dad, Bill White, was a significant part of the reason why I'm here today, because as a CEO of a corporation, he took this long-haired kid who was a rocker, who was a 7th grade dropout, smoking pot, drinking beer, working telemarketing, and he believed in me, and he thought, Chris, you're smarter than this. You're better than that. Wow. You should go back to school. And I'm like, I can't go back to school. I had this lack mentality, this I can't mentality, it's too late mentality. And he said, he said this, and this is my quote, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. You're only
Correct.
limited by the parameters of your own mind. His family, I was there when he passed away. I actually got to hold his hand as he passed away too. 2 great people in my life. And his family said, Chris, we want you to have that quote. That's yours. So when you think about that, we're only limited by what we believe and what we surround ourselves with. And what I did is somebody gave me some motivational tapes. I actually think it was Tony Robbins, and I had to drive to work to LA, and I listened to that every day. And I thought, everything's possible. Everything's possible. Everything is about the words we use to ourselves. If you sit there and say, oh, I'm no good at this or I'm no good at that, you're going to be no good at it. Belief inspires reality. But if you say, and there's a key word, it's called perhaps. Perhaps if I read more about this, I would get smarter. Perhaps if I took a lesson in this, I would get better. Perhaps if I dedicated a half hour more every day consistently, I would achieve my goals. And that's what it takes. It's all about the attitude. That's what my upcoming live event is about, is all about attitude, creating your unstoppable attitude for professional and personal success. It's all within here. It's not everybody else. It's not what happened last week, last year, 20 years ago. It's about what's here, what's right now, and the choices you make. That's what I do every day. I still listen to podcasts every day, motivational content every single day.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you about this, and I agree with you on this. For the past 20, 25 years, I've been listening to tapes. I've got probably half a Nightingale Conan's library here at my house. That I listen, especially, I love Jim Rohn. I got to meet him a couple times. I even got a picture back here, an autographed picture of him with Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, and all those guys. But let me ask you something. Listen to the tapes and all those. Those are great, and reading books. What about having a one-on-one mentor? Have you had experiences with someone who is, I mean, you talked about your, I guess, your father-in-law there. Have you had any other people that have really helped you on a one-on-one mentorship? And what do you suggest about trying to seek out finding a mentor?
That's a really great question, Alan. It's that's how I got into coaching. Is people were seeking me out to help them, and I realized that at a particular point in time, I did have Bill White as a mentor, and now I joined a mastermind group, which you're a part of, and I do have a mentor. And this is a crazy story of how I came to know this guy. He's known in Riverside County all over the place. His name's Stan Morrison. He actually used to be I believe the UCLA basketball coach. He was a personal coach to now we're talking about forgetting names.
Larry King?
No, big Shaquille O'Neal. And
Wow.
And I volunteer at the Olive Crest Children's Foundation. I help at-risk kids who are basically just like I was. And I met this guy named Stan Morrison, and he just gravitated toward me. 6'8", white guy, always wearing a suit. I would think he looks at me and goes, "Okay, I don't want to have anything to do with them." But he and I resonate so much because we care about kids. I mean, that's my goal, is to help kids like where I was at. And Stan and I have breakfast, or I'm actually lunch, probably once every 2 to 3 months, and we just trade stories and we talk about what's going on. And I have, a personal dietitian coach, Dr. Linda Marquez. I have
Yes.
a mastermind group. I have really close friends that I talk with one-on-one. But for those people out there, you think about, I can't afford a coach. And here's something that really changed in my mind also that I want to share with the listeners. It's not an expense. It's an investment. You cannot think about your personal growth as an expense, because when I did that about a year and a half ago, I thought, I can't afford this. But when you change your mindset, again, changing your mindset to saying, I'm going to invest in myself, this is the most important thing to me. And if I cannot make $1 more back from this investment, then I have no business doing this at all. And I did that. And I sunk a lot of money to do and be around the people I'm around. And my success has grown exponentially. So if you're looking for a coach, get those people, because they're going to have your best interest in mind. And if you don't like a particular coach, go find another one. But it's paramount to your success. So I think that's a really great question, Alan, that we definitely have to invest in ourselves and have those key people around us.
Yeah, I've got a question. Go ahead, Alan.
That's one of the things I want to mention to you guys. Of course, you guys are in California, and that's there's a lot of things that goes on out there. I'm a country boy from West Virginia, and I got first I met James Malinchak several years ago, and through him, it's kind of spiraled up really, that I've got to meet a lot of other people. These pictures on the wall behind me of all the different speakers and celebrities and so on that I've got to meet over the past 5 or 6 years. And through Craig Duswalt, got to meet you guys at these events. Now, what I would urge people to do is just go out there and attend these events. Most of these are not very expensive at all. It's like you say, it's an investment. Well, I'm have to not only invest in the event, but fly out there and back, which is a all-day routine for me to get to California. But I do it. I've been out to California 5 times already this year, and I do that because I love being at these events. I love what I gain from them, but also it's interesting because of the people here locally that I deal with. When they find out the people that I've met and talked to and some of the stuff I've been into, it's amazing. They say, "How do you do that?" And I said, "Well, you have to get on a plane, go where these people are to hang out with them."
That's right.
And it's not that hard. You just do this, and it's amazing on the stuff on Facebook. I don't post a lot on Facebook, but the few things I do, people come and say, "How did you meet these people?" Again, you go where they are and you go meet them. It's not hard, but you have to step up to the plate. Like Christopher said, you have to make a decision that I want this for myself. I'm going to invest this money. I may not make a dime back from it, but I do it anyway for my own self-worth and self-education and self-improvement. And let me tell you what, in the past roughly 4+ years since I've been coming out to California, and it's not so much California, it's just attending, and the people, the quality of people that I have met at these events has just been amazing, and they've got my way of thinking a lot better, and things have just drastically improved for me all in so many areas of my life that it's just amazing. So get out there. You have to step up to the plate, make a choice, go out there to these events and meet these people, and I promise you that things will get better.
Yeah, I agree. Having a mentor is very important. In fact, before we've got about almost 5 minutes left on the show, and I'm going to give some time to Chris to tell us how people can get in touch with you. Maybe you might be the mentor for some of those folks. But one of the other benefits of having a radio show is that you can actually put people on the spot. So I'd like to take advantage of that right now. In October, I found out my I teach part-time business courses at a college, and I was asked to teach a 6-week course to some troubled youth, high school youth, in kind of a tough part of town. So I'm going to be doing that, and I would love to have you come out as a visitor if you're able to, Chris, to give these guys some encouragement. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I would love to.
Great. There's the other benefit of radio, right? Everybody's heard him say it.
Actually, I'd like to share a story.
Sure. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Real quick. When I talk about dropping out of Brookhurst Junior High, it's here in Anaheim, or here in Southern California. One of my goals was to be able to go back, like I said, help kids overcome their own self-created adversity, help them realize there's something else. I got the opportunity to go back and speak to the 7th and 8th grade class a couple of years ago. It's on my YouTube page. It was probably, aside from getting married to my current wife, who I love very much, love you, babe, it was the most amazing experience of my life, because I got to go back and I got to look at these kids filing into the gymnasium thinking, in 7th grade, I was just like them, wearing Levi's, wearing Vans. And so I got to go back and speak to them, and helping people is the greatest way to serve, because when you volunteer and you serve, you get so much more back. You meet amazing people. And like Alan was saying, I can't reinforce that enough. Show up. Don't only show up, just blow up. You have to show up. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business, show up, be the best you can be.
I love that. Well, tell us now. I know I've got viewers right now. You guys are looking at us in the eyeballs, and the others are listening to us in our earballs, or in our eardrums. I'm messing everything up today on purpose. It's fun, yeah. So they want to know probably how to get in touch with you. So,
absolutely. The best way to get in touch with me is just go to my website. It's ChristopherRausch.com, RAUSCH. There on the main page is all about my live event coming up here in Southern California, creating your unstoppable attitude for personal and professional success. There's all stories about me, my social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, everything, my email, my phone number. If you're interested in coaching, if you're interested in getting more in touch with me, attending the live event, that's the best place to go. And I just want to say thank you, Dennis, for having me on the show, and thank you, Alan, for being the co-host. I couldn't ask for a better co-host. So I just want to say thank you both for that.
Hey, you're welcome. We're glad to have you here on the show today, too. And definitely one thing I want to share that whether you're doing it or not, I'll recommend it as an idea, is are they able to pre-order your book?
Actually, that is in the working stages. Over the next couple of weeks, I have to get that link set, but then pre-orders for the book will be happening.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It is the biggest motivator, and this is for, there you go.
I forgot. That's the new iPhone case.
All right.
Hell yeah, I'm kick-ass.
There you go. I love it. So you can.
I forgot about that.
That's one of the biggest motivators, I think, to getting a book done, is to allow people to pre-order it and let them know the date it's going to be released. That is how you're going to get your book written, Chris and Alan.
Yes, Alan. If I have to come out to West Virginia and kick your.
That is my fall project, to get the book finished.
Very good. Very good. Well, listen, we've really enjoyed having you on the show today, Chris, and we're going to start winding down here and get ready for some more music. Those of you that are normally tuned in to the Eagle Radio Network from Mount San Jacinto College, well, we hope that you have a kick-ass day. And if you have lived a life that was filled with struggles, there is hope. There is huge hope. In fact, it can be your motivator. And our guest today has kind of shared that. He's pointing his finger at you. Those of you that are trying to look at us at the radio, he can't see us, but he definitely wants you to commit to making things happen in your life. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Take responsibility for your actions and your choices today.
Excellent. And Alan, thanks for being our co-host today. We really enjoy having you. It was great. And I've been a guest on your show, too. You're doing a great job there with your radio show, too.
We're going to do this again.
Excellent. All right. Well, you guys all have a great day. And we will see you, and those of you on cable TV, we'll see you in about half an hour with Sandra D. Robinson. We're actually running a rerun today, but it's all about Sandra D. Robinson and her business, Charisma on Camera. You can learn what she has done as a celebrity actress on CSI and on all kinds of different soap operas over the years. So tune in then, and tune in next week when we have Freddie Combs, and our co-host will be Larry Broughton. Thanks a lot. See you all later. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we'll see you next week.